Welcome to the Fearlessly Authentic Sash and Soul podcast, the show that goes beyond the stage, prioritizing a healthy mindset, overall well-being, and triumphs in the pageant journey. In each episode, we dive into the transformative power of embracing authenticity fearlessly.
From mindset mastery and self-care strategies to success stories that inspire, this podcast is your go-to guide for navigating the pageant world with confidence and resilience. Join us as we embark on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and celebrate the stories of those who fearlessly embraced their authenticity on the path to pageant success. I'm Lila Sherry.
And I'm Raeanna Johnson. Welcome to Sash and Soul. Hello, everyone. We are back. Episode number 3. We're still kicking.
Haven't quit yet.
We haven't yet. And we are in a really buzzy mood today. We just spent about 20 minutes chatting about all things before we hit record. So get ready for a energetic conversation today about Miss America and competing on the national stage, because that's where we decided we were going to go today. And with that, you are the most recent class member of Miss America, and I want to hear about your experience, Lila.
This is very fitting because I leave for Miss America's homecoming tomorrow. So it's been a little over a month since I've gotten back. Well, I want to start at the beginning. What did Miss America mean to me? I think that there's kind of two different types of women that go to Miss America. I've noticed there are the ones that watch every single year growing up. They know the history. They know really well all the past Miss Americas, and they've always wanted this to be one of their lifelong goals and dreams was to go to Miss America. And then you have the women that were like, actually, I never saw myself as Miss America. I never thought this was a possibility. Didn't watch it growing up. My family wasn't into it, but here I am. And both are really cool paths to take. I was absolutely one that watched every single year, knew all the Miss Americas. I don't know about you, Ray. Were you the same?
I did not. No, my first experience watching Miss America was when I had my first local title when I was 17.
Okay, so point proven, right? Well, when I became Miss Wisconsin, I didn't really understand that I was going to Miss America. I had no idea like what that meant. We also had no idea what the dates were. And so there was no conceptualization of what that meant for me. I knew it was a big deal, but it almost didn't feel like a big deal in the moment leading up to it. It just felt like the natural progression, the natural course of like what I was supposed to be doing. And I think I lost a little bit of that excitement along the way because as a state title holder, you're like, well, this is my job, right? I know we don't call it a job anymore. It's an opportunity, but it's both. You still give up a lot to be a title holder. And so I think leading up to Miss America, I wasn't quite sure what it would look like for me while I was there. So I struggled a lot with it. But the experience itself at Miss America, I would do it all over again, knowing exactly how I felt, knowing exactly what happened, good and bad, all the beautiful moments and the struggles in between. I would do it all over again. And now here we are a month after Miss America, and to think it was just a little blip in my year. Like the girls really put in perspective that 365 days as a title holder is only 1 year of your life. And going to Miss America is 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 out of your time, 365 days as a title holder. And so I guess I'm getting to the point where now I'm going to say, yes, it was a really big deal, but also, is it?
My answer is yes. It is a big deal, and here's why. Because you spent your entire life watching and dreaming of the experience. And just because the experience happened really quickly, and it was a small portion in the grand scheme of things of your life, it was still a goal that you achieved. And that is huge. So everything that you said, yes, puts things into perspective, but only in the sense that take some pressure off of yourself. That's the perspective that it brings, is that it's huge and it's a goal, but go easy. Have fun. You've dreamt of this your whole life. It's not the end all. There's so much more to come, and you'll always look back at this experience with joy and pride. But have fun with it. Don't make it the end all be all. Don't make it your entire life.
Absolutely. I remember thinking the entire time I was there, and this really got me through a lot, was remembering who I was outside of this, remembering that the people that were going to see me at Miss America were also my coworkers at the news station, were also my friends that would see me again back home, family in the audience. Like I didn't have to puff up or shrink in even while I was there. And I remember telling you and feeling like I was really afraid of how I was going to feel among 50 other women that were just as accomplished and just as well spoken and, all of these things. I remember telling you, like, I was afraid of how I was going to feel in that situation. But I think it was very telling that once I got there, I was like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly where I belong. I think that's why I say, is it a big deal? Obviously it was one of my biggest lifelong dreams come true. But it's also really empowering to feel like, yeah, I should be here. Like it's empowering to think that I'm not all nervous and really caught up in the fact that I'm here because it just feels right.
It was part of your journey. So we'll dive more into the emotional roller coaster that is being at Miss America because it is. And just a little preview, we talked a lot about grieving. You're kind of grieving the end of this particular part of your journey in your life that you've dreamt of your entire life, and it's a one and done. You don't get to come back and do it again. So there was a lot of grief, there was a lot of joy, there was a lot of gratitude, there was a lot of fear. There's all these different emotions going on. And we'll dive more into the emotional side of that. But what I would love for you to share with everyone and me, because I don't know that we've even talked very much about this, the behind the scenes. Paint a picture. What did you actually see, feel, do, hear, experience while you were there? Can you go like day by day? Because what we saw on this side was the Instagram picture from the outside looking in. And I want to know what it was actually like there.
You brought up the social media. I think this year, social media was highly encouraged, pretty much required. Obviously, you're not going to like get kicked out of Miss America if you miss a post, but it was very, very highly encouraged. And that was the basis of pretty much the entire week. A lot of the events were based around social media posts, right? Like, what social media post correlates with this event? What do we want you to be talking about? At the same time, it was really fun for all of us still to be experiencing these events, right? Like, thank goodness we weren't stuck in a hotel for a week straight and not able to see the sunlight, right? Like, I'm so grateful that we were able to go to Universal, that we were able to go to this Hawaiian luau the first night, like, all really amazing experiences. But it was because of sponsorships, right? It was because of business partnerships that they had that we had to keep at the forefront as title holders. So when it comes to social media and the posts that you saw, say, okay, I'll take the day at Universal as an example. We had one day where we all got to go to Universal. We were wearing our Rebel athletic gear that we got. Very grateful that we were able to get that sponsorship while we were there. But once we showed up at the park, there was a solid hour and a half of just filming, of just getting content, of just making sure that your social media was up to date. And then we had like maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours before the tornado hit. So that was a whole that was a whole different
Wait, there
thing.
was a tornado?
There was a tornado warning.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was a fun little story, but I mean, obviously that was out of everyone's control, but yeah, a lot of time was taken up for social media. All of the smiles were so real. Everything that you saw of us having genuine fun was truly us having fun, but I think it very easily could have been, oh my gosh, like all this social media, like we don't want, oh my gosh, it's taking up so much time, this and that. It was a really weird balancing act while we were there. Actually, there were times that I noticed we were all sitting at a table. There was another tornado warning at one point.
What?
There was
Why does this feel symbolic? This
there were
feels so symbolic to me.
there was another tornado warning on teen finals night, I believe, and we were in a conference room for a good hour and a half at least, I think, before we were able to get on the bus and go. We called this Tornado Alley, which is really funny because every day after that, the coordinators would be like, "We'll meet in Tornado Alley." It was kind of funny. It was cute. But during this hour and a half of us just waiting for this storm to pass, we all were just, most of us were sitting on our phones or making TikToks or posting on social media. And we all recognized that when we looked up and looked around, everyone was on their phones. And then we would go back to our phones. So I would honestly say that was the hardest part. I know we're talking about
Mm.
social media more than anything, but I think that was the biggest difference out of every other year that we've seen before versus title holders having their phones taken. So I just think that's a reflection of society now. I just think that's a reflection of a lot of the values that I think people think the world wants.
Well, I also think it's a reflection of business and
Absolutely.
marketing opportunities. And I mean, the Miss America opportunity has marketing at its fingertips all the time now. And you were all there with an exceptional reach, far beyond anything that the Miss America accounts could do. And I have to say, that doesn't sound all that different from what I experienced when I was at Miss America 10 years ago. We went to Disney on one of our days. So Miss America's teen was in Florida, where Miss America was in Atlantic City. Miss America's teen was in August. And so we all flew there. We had our first orientation in Florida, and we went to Disney one of those days. And the first part of it was before the park even opened, and we were doing filming. And then we did have a chance to spend a day at Disney and do some really fun things and bond and get to know each other. But a lot of that we were told, here are the accounts that you need to be tagging, here are the hashtags that you need to be using. And that was ongoing from Florida to when for our class in 20, it was September of 2020 of 2014, but it was the class of 2015, Miss America 2015. We had an opportunity to fly to DC, Washington, DC, before we went to Atlantic City. So we spent a couple of nights in DC and toured the Capitol and toured the White House. And that was also publicity. It's fun for us, but in the grand scheme of things, it was publicity for Miss America. And then we flew to Atlantic City and it was visit AC, and we had the accounts that we needed to tag and the hashtags that we needed to use. So all of that sounds so familiar to me and actually was just part of the experience at that point, like you said. And for me, contributed to how exciting it was to be there, that we're being told and given these instructions. The difference was when we were in the dressing room, they took our phones. So we don't have any photos other than the live broadcast when they had a camera backstage in our dressing room and doing some interviews and stuff before the broadcast started. Other than that, we don't have any images from the actual dressing room that we were in because they took our phones. Safety reasons, things like that. But those were the moments that we really were able to just relax and get to know each other and just set down our phones because we had to. And that those were powerful moments. So I feel for you when you say, like, we looked up and realized everyone was on their phones, but it was something that you just did. It's part of the experience. So I want to know how valuable was that for you? If we're going to switch our perspective on it to find value in that experience of the stress of the social media and the publicity that you were required to do. What did you learn from that?
Absolutely. I first want to say that it is comforting to know that I know we've talked about the similarities in our experiences, but I guess I really realize that this is just that it's just part of the game. I knew
It
that,
is.
but it's comforting to hear that 10 years ago it was very similar. So, the joy, there was so much joy. We had the silliest moments. Like, I don't think people realize how absolutely just goofy title holders can be, especially when you put all of us in the same room. Like half the time, I don't even think we were speaking the same language. Like it was literally gibberish half the time, but we thought it was the funniest thing in the world. We did get a lot of extra downtime that I wasn't expecting. It was still very, very busy, but I was expecting to not have a single second throughout the week, right? There were some moments where we had like an hour and a half between when we had to get ready for the next event. There were maybe six, seven, eight girls piled on top of a bed, literally on top of each other, eating snacks, just being goofy, talking about nothing about Miss America and nothing about being a title holder, like silly guy drama or silly inside jokes with other friends or just being humans.
The
And
sisterhood.
the
It
sisterhood.
was it was the sisterhood of it. That's that experience. I You guys can't see me, but I am smiling and I am nodding constantly as Lila's talking about these experiences with the rest of the class of Miss America this year because I'm like, yep, I remember being exhausted and I call it sleep drunk, that moment when you're just like, you're not even thinking clearly because you're just so tired. And the giggles and the stupid stuff that was coming out of our mouths and just the inside jokes that were created, just so much fun. And there is a bond that is created when you are going through something so significant with other women in those moments. And you're all interpreting things a little bit differently, but you're all experiencing the same circumstances. And there's such a beautiful bond that happens with that. Yeah, this is fun. This is a fun conversation for me because I'm reminiscing now on some of my experiences. So, really cool. Thank you.
Yes, even with all of the annoyingness sometimes of having to post on social media, I mean that just goes to show like how beautiful it was that we didn't want to be on our phones. Like what does that tell you, right? And honestly, now we still have inside jokes about social media posting that we will always talk about the silliness and also the really honest and raw conversations that I had. And the times where God, I remember my feet getting so beat up the first day because I had worn specific stiletto heels the first day and it just like completely ruined my feet for the rest of the week. These girls like wrapping my feet, like helping me with pain and like these like they don't need to do that, right? I don't even expect my own friends here back home to wrap my feet. Like, ew, right? But like
I would wrap your feet, Lila. I would.
oh, thank you. Okay, that's my test for all of my friends. Would you wrap my feet? But truly, like there was a lot of compassion. And I remember just feeling like everybody had this sense of camaraderie of if we don't help each other, who's going to? Like, this is us, this is our experience. And there was a lot of love and just compassion for each other. I actually had some friends back home ask me, well, what's the tea? What's the tea on the women? Like there's got to be some crazy stories. And I just remember being like, no. I I couldn't have made it throughout the week without them. Any of them. Like it sounds so cliche. I know. I just don't have any bad words. The drama didn't come from the women. The drama comes from the public. Let's be honest. The drama
Mm,
comes from the people that are watching from the outside that have no idea what's going on. The drama comes from the inferences and the assumptions that we make of seeing those social media posts. That's the drama.
wow. You just called people out. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I mean, but it's a collective whole. There is a stereotype around pageantry historically. It's ingrained into our society. It's very much ingrained into American culture specifically. So it's not anybody's fault. It's not any one specific person that I'm even thinking about, honestly. It's just the fact that collectively society as a whole has stereotypes and has expectations and their natural human bias, right? It's a very natural thing, but I think the fact that that sentiment of, oh, there must be drama within the women is put on us, like that is more damaging than my feet or my social media struggles throughout the week, you know? And I just wish more people knew that, which is why I say it here. I mean, this is the platform to do so. And so that's my truth.
Speak it. Continue speaking it. Wow. How much sleep did you get?
Oh, none.
People say that, but like put it into actual context for everyone because we hear that like, oh, you don't sleep when you're at Miss America or at a national competition, but truthfully, you do. I mean, you get hours of sleep here and there, and you find times to nap during rehearsal, but like put it into context.
Sure. On a day to day, most of our call times, quote unquote, were between like 7 to 8 a.m. But that included time for you to make sure that you got breakfast. They had a breakfast available, but girls kind of dilly-dallied in and out. Sometimes we didn't make it to the breakfast, you know. So that included time for you to get breakfast. That also included your own hair and makeup call times. So when you're getting hair and makeup done at an event like Miss America, you don't necessarily just I mean, I personally did it like right before we left, but a lot of girls are getting up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. My roommate was up very early most days to go get her hair and makeup done. So most girls were up at the very latest around 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning at the latest, right? Going to bed, our events would end around 10:30. We would get to visit our families from like 10 to 11, and then our families would just stay because they loved us. We weren't really going to bed until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we're getting up around 5 or 6. So, yes, we were getting sleep. Did I have some control over how early or late I went to bed? Absolutely. But during that week, all I wanted to do was like get an extra 5 minutes with my mom or like an extra 5 minutes with Logan. And that obviously pushed my time back much later. And did I have control maybe to get more sleep? Absolutely. But I didn't really care.
Mm.
So we were probably on average, most all of us were getting around 4 to 5 hours, 6 to 7 hours if we were lucky. But that was that. But that extended every single day for over a week. So imagine you can do that like a few days in a row, and then it really starts to get exhausting. But again, I just didn't care. I was like, get me some caffeine. I'll be good. This is a once in a lifetime thing. I don't need to sleep through this. Let me sleep when I'm done. And I did. I slept for like a week straight when it was over. But yeah, that was kind of the day to day.
Leading up to Miss America, you and I had a lot of very intentional chats about what are you going to do for self-care while you're there? How are you going to maintain your energy level and your emotional energy? Because it's a marathon, it is not a sprint. And you could easily deplete yourself in the first couple of days, especially with lack of sleep, especially with meals being different than what you're used to. You're constantly on the go. So you're burning more calories because of rehearsals and getting up and moving and going to events and things like that. So, what did you do while you were there to maintain your level of balance and like your baseline of who, like what you needed to do for yourself?
At my core, I am an introvert, and I've known that my whole life. And I know that being an introvert means that you get your energy from being by yourself. That is very difficult to do in a place like Miss America. You're constantly surrounded by other women, but you also want to be surrounded by them. So even though there were times that I was like, oh, I don't really want to leave this little group here and like do what I had to do, I was disciplined when it came to being by myself. And my roommate was really awesome in the sense that she was also very respectful of that and she felt the same way, right? That's another thing. Set your expectations with your roommate right away before you go. Side note.
And this is actually a really great reminder for me to bring back up to my clients as they're preparing for state competition and needing to be, and nationals. Actually, I have a couple that are preparing for nationals. But when you have a roommate and you know what you first of all, you need to know what you need. You need to know what works best for you. If you need that downtime, if you're a chatty person. And the best approach for setting those expectations and setting those boundaries that I have found with someone else is sitting down, get to know you, really excited for this week. I'm talking about your conversation with your roommate and saying, "Hey, just so you know, this is how I handle stress. This is typically how I react when I'm stressed out. I shut down, I get really, really quiet. So I don't want you to think that you're doing anything wrong. I don't want it to negatively affect you when I'm experiencing that. But I also just want you to be aware of where I'm at and that I'm going to need space. Like that's just what I need in those moments. And I might not be able to say that eloquently when I'm in the crux of it. So, or when I'm prepping for interview, I'm going to have my earbuds in and I'm going to be in a great mood. I'm going to be hyping myself up, but I also still need to be by myself or I need to be chatting with other people. So, if you can be one of those people, I would really, really appreciate it. Setting those expectations. But then here's the key is then saying, what do you need? What are your little quirks? I would love to be able to be a really good support for you in the same way. So, how do you handle stress? What are you like before your interview? What do you need to be most successful?
That was the best tool that I had going into Miss Wisconsin. It was a great tool, obviously, going into Miss America. And I have wonderful relationships with all of my roommates from my beginning of Miss America opportunity experience all the way to now. Like a lot of pockets of time by myself. Even if it was when I was taking a shower, I was intentional about not thinking about competition while I was in the shower, not thinking about what I had to do when I got out of the shower, like being disciplined when it came to being by myself. That was the best tool for me. Of course, I found little times where I could journal a little bit. That was a little bit tough to find time for that, but it's kind of integrating what you already have going on and finding ways to implement care throughout that time, right? Like if I was getting my hair done, I would let my hair and makeup artist know like, "Oh, I'm exhausted today. I'm going to be a little bit more quiet." She'd be like, "Great. Cool. You like your hair?" Like people will be there when you express your needs and they will accommodate. And so it's voicing your concerns, voicing what you're going to be doing, voicing that this is how other people can help you, and then just being intentional and disciplined about it and unapologetic about it.
Oof, that's the tough part because how often do we feel like we're being selfish if we're trying to do what's best for ourselves?
I always reframe it in a way if you're feeling selfish, could you say that the other party is maybe also being selfish if they expect these things out of you? That's always what I revert back to. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? But it's a good little test of, am I being a little bit too hard on myself? Or I mean, is this really me being egotistical, right? Obviously that's a possibility. But when it comes to this negative connotation that I think we have around selfishness, could you flip it and say, well, this person needing me right now in this moment for a photo, like maybe that's a little selfish of them. So, all right, if we're going to say that about ourselves, let's not be hypocritical about it.
I think one of the best ways to look at it is you need to determine how important your needs are compared to the other person's needs. If you are having a really hard time and struggling with some self-criticism, and the other person comes in and they are expecting you to just listen to their relationship issues, but you're in a space where you're like, I actually really need to take care of myself right now. Which one is more important? And is it more selfish for you to take care of yourself in that moment rather than set aside your own struggle and personal crisis that you're going through? Or is it more selfish for that person to expect you to do that? So, to your point, it's just a deeper way of looking at it. If someone comes in and they're bleeding out and you're over there having your own like internal crisis of self worth, but they're bleeding out on the floor, I mean, where's the priority? Well, it's an extreme example, but it proves
Yeah.
it's an extreme example, but I think that really paints the picture for you to do some self-assessment and recognize, no, it's not selfish for me to be taking care of myself right now. It's necessary. And when
Right.
you can look at everyone as capable, that person does not need your help with boyfriend issues right now. They have other people they can go to. It doesn't have to be you. And you don't have to feel guilty about not being the person for them in that moment.
Everyone is a capable human that can and will find the resources and the help that they need and are capable to do that. We don't have to be everyone's 911.
No,
I think that's what people mean when they say protect your peace. I think we hear that so much, protect your peace. I never really understood what that meant until I put it into practice, say in really big instances like Miss America or even Miss Wisconsin Week, or you know what, even locals, or even going into work, or even, all of it is all encompassing. In my relationships with my mom, with my significant other, all of that applies. So it's not just these lessons are not just Miss America driven. It's applied in every way in life. I think everything is just heightened in such a big event like Miss America.
we need to flip the script and look at these lessons as valuable for our lives and benefiting us in pageants, not valuable for pageants and benefiting us in our lives.
Yes. Thank you. Very well said.
I have never said that before, and I've never said it like that, but it hit me. And that's exactly what we're talking about. We keep saying pageants are elevating the rest of our lives, but why don't we elevate our lives and then we'll succeed in pageants? Speechless. No words.
Truly.
Drop the mic. That's it. Episode over. That's all we need to say. I'm just kidding because I
Peace
want to get
out.
back to Miss America. I want to get back to our original conversation. I would say we digress, but we don't. That was a really powerful moment. What were some pivotal moments for you that you needed to overcome at Miss America? It's interesting because as you're thinking, I can think of some, but I'm just wondering if they seem insignificant to you now. That they seemed really big in the moment, but now as you're reflecting back, they just seem really small.
I know because now I'm sitting here thinking like, what do you mean? It was amazing. It was incredible. Like I'm not thinking there are pivotal moments. There are two big ones that both involve you that I can think of. And I'm trying to think of one specifically that does not involve you. But first of all,
Well, they
let's
probably involved me, Lila, because they were significant and
I needed to
you
call
were
you.
struggling and you needed to call me. That's why. But
Yes.
that's what I told you all along. I am here for you. I'm giving you the tools. Use those tools. Know when you need to use those tools so that you can elevate yourself. I'm about you empowering yourself. You don't need me every step of the way. So I did my job if you only needed to call me a couple of times in crisis. I take that as a win. So, of course, these couple of times that you're thinking of involve me. Makes perfect sense.
I I like that you said those times in crisis because it probably felt like that to me in the moment, but looking back, I think, of course you felt that way. What was it? Like the third day? Second or third day? I think it might have been the day after my interview, or yeah, like the day of or the day after my interview, where I
I
don't
think the first significant moment was the first day when you weren't sure what you were feeling.
Oh, yes. That is okay. Yep. My expectations of how I thought I was going to feel didn't necessarily match up with how I was actually feeling. I wasn't feeling upset or I wasn't feeling sad or angry or intimidated or any of those things. And I think that threw me off because I thought, do I realize the significance of what I'm doing right now? Like getting on the plane was like very chill. The airplane ride over there was very chill. Getting off the plane, very chill. Getting into my hotel, okay, cool. Like checking into your hotel. And I think that I kept anticipating that I was going to feel these huge rush of emotions and feel really overwhelmed. And when I didn't feel that way, I thought something was wrong with me. It felt weird to be in this very calm, neutral space because that wasn't something that I was used to. I was ready to feel just very high emotions, and I didn't. those first few days. And so, yeah, I didn't trust that I understood, that my body understood what was going on, but maybe that was just peace. Maybe that was just a sense of comfort, like this is where you're supposed to be. Maybe it was a sense of like a sign that was enjoying the experience and that I had prepared for it. I anticipated feeling really bad and I didn't.
Yeah, I remember saying to you, can you just let yourself feel what you're feeling and not judge it?
Yeah,
Because I think you were also getting emotional. You started getting afraid. You had a fear that the other girls would think that something was wrong when nothing was wrong. And I think I also said to you, sometimes your body's going to react to big emotions that you're not even consciously aware of yet.
absolutely. The whole week, it was such a personal experience for me. This was something that I've been working towards my whole life. I wanted to remember every single moment and soak it all in. Every moment was so fleeting. Everything was coming and going so fast. My time with my girls were fleeting. Getting to know people and then knowing them so well to just let them go at the end of the week, that was difficult to think about. And so when people hear that I was crying, I don't think that they immediately think maybe it was a lot of joy in those tears. Maybe it was a lot of like melancholy, a lot of bittersweet, a lot of, because I just remember the very last night when we had rehearsals for finals night. And we had one run through of our talent. We were just going through the show. It was my turn to go on stage and play the piano. All I wanted to do was just stare out into the balconies and the seats while I was playing because I wanted to memorize what it looked like so that I would always have that picture in my head before I left. And I probably looked absolutely crazy to the people in the audience watching me just like nod my head all over, not look at the keys. They were probably like, "What's wrong with her?" And I was like, "I don't care. I'm just memorizing what it looks like from here." Or we would be backstage and some of the girls would be in the dressing room sometimes, some of the girls would be backstage, some of the girls would be walking around by like the snack table. It was all just, wherever in the theater. And I remember just feeling like a crazy person because all I wanted to do was go play the piano. And I would sit down at the piano that was backstage and I wouldn't be able to play it like I would normally play it. I was just tapping the keys with my fingers. Like no sound was coming out. I was just like do 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 like it was a toy piano. Again, I probably looked crazy if you saw me just sitting there from the outside, but to me that was like you little Lila would have happily not wanted to quit piano and gone through all of those piano lessons if it meant that she was sitting right here tapping these keys backstage at Miss America. Like there were just so many moments. And I know this was with pretty much every woman there, right? Where you find those pockets of what does this mean for me and my journey? Because when you're there, there's cameras everywhere. There's social media, people running around taking videos of you. You kind of feel like you always have to be on in a way. But then when you find those moments of like, wait, but what does this mean for my journey? How can I be selfish? How can I feed my little soul from 6, 7, 8 years ago when I first had this dream? What does it mean for me? And so I think again, back to what I was saying about feeling all of these emotions, but it was also like, I'm here. There was sadness throughout the week, but a lot of it was because this is my last chance. This is my one shot. This is it.
We prepared for that grief.
Yeah.
We had lovely, lovely moments talking about what to anticipate and be aware of and let in when you were at Miss America. And one of those things was you'll feel some grief. It's going to be the last time that you're competing in the Miss America organization. You'll perform your piano at appearances later and you'll perform when you're giving up your title, but this is the last time you're competing in MAO and the last time you'll be competing with your piano performance in MAO. This will be the last competitive MAO interview that you will do. Expect to have a rush of emotions and There's no way of knowing what those emotions are going to be or how they will feel. But if you can just expect them, it's a lot easier to let them wash over you and not let them overwhelm you, but just welcome them as anticipated friends and part of the process.
It's so hard to describe the feeling, but essentially it's you're almost observing yourself in a way, but you're experiencing it all from your eyes. But then you're experiencing it from, say, little 6-year-old Lila's eyes also. And then you're also experiencing it through the eyes of when you're 30, 40 years older, looking back at yourself now. You just, you see it all at once. And then you're like, but I'm still here and I'm still going to enjoy this chickpea wrap that I have, or I'm still going to enjoy the breakfast in the morning, but knowing all of this is part of such a big experience, but then it's still little moments of joy. Gosh, I feel like people are going to be listening and be like, "So how? What?" But this is exactly how it was. Everything all at once, all the time, at the same time.
So, what is your advice to someone that is preparing for a similar experience? How would you encourage them to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally for something like this when we all experience it differently? Because
Mhm.
we all have unique characteristics that make up who we are and how we handle stress. What would you say?
Establish your support system because you will need support. I think we can, of course, you will go through making sure your wardrobe is ready, making sure you're organized, making sure that you're mentally prepared to take this on. No matter how much you prepare, you will experience things that you maybe weren't expecting. No matter what. No matter what. You'll tell yourself, I'm going to experience things that I'm not expecting, but nothing prepares you to actually experience things that you weren't expecting. What you can always do is have one person that you go to for, say, talent practice. If you feel like you need to work on your talent, this is who you call or this is who you talk to. If you feel like you need to talk about something completely not related to Miss America and competing, this is the friend that I'll have on deck. This is who I'll talk to. This is who I'll text. If you want to talk about mindset and emotions, this is my coach. This is who I have. This is who I'm going to talk to about these things. Knowing that you're going to have people there is truly one of the few ways that I felt like actually tangibly helped me in the moment. Because when you're running around and you don't have time to sit down and journal, you don't always have time to listen to your morning podcasts, or your morning routine is completely out of whack, you don't have time to go to the gym. Have that plan in place of when I feel these things of this change in schedule, this change in emotions, then this is my solution. Be solution driven, right? We always want to be proactive, and there's only so much that you can do. But then, okay, maybe it's going to feel this way. Then what am I going to do on the flip end of it to help myself out? Instead of just preparing as much as possible and crossing your fingers and diving in, do you have something to help you even when after you dive in? That's my biggest piece of advice. Because as much as I want to say, be organized. Okay, we know that. As much as I want to say, have zero expectations. We know that. It's having a solid support system of knowing exactly who you can go to for specific things that you experience. That's the best piece of advice that I could give.
And what about for those who are listening and getting a little stressed because they don't necessarily feel like they have that support system and they don't know who they would go to for these things?
Well, find what is lacking. What part of your life do you feel like you need more support on? I remember when I came to you, I said, I have the talent in place. I was very transparent with you of, I have my talent, I know it's good. I have my walk, I know it's good. I have my platform, I know that's good. I'm missing the tools that I need in order to feel good during these competitions. So that to me was my need.
The biggest hurdle that any of you would face in that is loving yourself enough to know you are worthy of and deserve all the support. The biggest hurdle, if you know that you don't have that support system in place, is believing, genuinely believing that you deserve that support. And if you are struggling with that, then there is a deeper issue. And you may need to find someone that will believe it for you for a little while until you start believing it yourself.
Feeling worthy of the support. That's always a hurdle.
The shame, the shoulds. I should be able to do this on my own. I should be able to figure this out. I don't want people to see me as weak. You ask me what my biggest downfalls were at Miss America. That was it. And that is the sole driving factor behind why I believe so much in the mindset work that we do. Because I was miserable and I had a lot of regret, a lot of resentment toward myself and how I handled things and my lack of self-worth. It's painful even to think about now. And I listened to your experiences at Miss America and how you handled things and what you experienced and now continue to experience in looking back. And I'm just filled with so much gratitude and appreciation and a sense of privilege that I got to be a part of that. And that I wasn't living vicariously through your experience, but I got to celebrate and be right alongside you the entire time. And that was healing for me. That was really healing for me.
I genuinely don't know what I would have felt had I not had those tools. Because you're right, it's all said and done. You go through the crappy and then you go through the really amazing, and you look back and you think, I'm grateful for the lowest of lows that week, for the highest of highs that week, because I had the tools to be able to recognize that. And so I come out of it. I'm sure there will be more that comes up as, the more that we talk about the experience and the stuff behind the scenes. But even through the craziness, even through the long days and the sleepless nights and wrapping my feet, I had the tools to remember that I wanted to feel good about this and that I deserved to feel good and that this was something that was for me. And that didn't happen overnight. That came with a lot of work. It came with a lot of hours of digging deep and cries and laughs. But it's all worth it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Again, like I said from the beginning, and I'll kind of end it on this, knowing everything I know now, knowing all of the goods and the bads and the in-betweens and the bittersweets, I would still go back and experience it all again, all over again, from top to bottom, every moment again. That's what I'll end on.
If any of you are listening to this and really feeling this pull that putting some of this work into yourself and desire to feel worthy, to feel good, and to have this experience of intentionality in every moment of competition experience or whatever goal you have set for yourself. If you're feeling this pull, then I urge you to look for opportunities for yourself to fulfill that need and that desire that you have right now. And you don't have to look too hard. Something will pop up. It'll be as simple as posts that you just keep seeing and you find a pull and just go with your gut instinct. But take action when you feel that pull. It'll feel so good months from now, years from now, to look back and think, I'm so glad I did it when I did. I'm glad I didn't put it off because look at how far I am now. And I wouldn't have been this far had I not taken that action. That's powerful. And you are capable of making that decision for yourself. So do that. And with that, we do have to wrap up because I have 2 minutes until the first mastermind call of the day. We are talking about interview today. So I got to get refocused and intentional with
Very
that.
fun. This was a fun conversation.
It was very fun.
Competing is a fun experience. Mm-hmm. And
It should be. Yeah. Jinx. Yes, it should be fun. Absolutely. All right. Thank you all for listening. I hope you take care of yourselves, have some fun, find the joy, follow your gut instincts, find your value and sense of worthiness in yourself and just continue moving forward with that intention. And Lila, I love you. Thank you for sharing everything.
Thank you.
Miss America Soul Sister.
That's our song, by the way. Hey, soul sister. Okay, we gotta go.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hey, we want you to be a part of our growing community. Hit that subscribe button now to stay up to date with the latest insights and strategies straight from industry experts and seasoned competitors. Whether you're a seasoned competitor or just starting your journey, our podcast is your go-to resource for all things pageantry. In each episode, we explore topics like mastering the interview, perfecting your stage presence, navigating the world of pageants, and cultivating confidence. And while you're at it, leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our passion to bring you valuable content that resonates with your journey. Join our community of successful women from around the globe. Subscribe, tune in, and let's embark on this journey together.